Welcome back to Multi-Mind, Mental Wellness for the Multi-Hyphenate. I'm Artis. Today's episode is for everyone who's ever had that moment when you look at your multiple businesses and realize they're all struggling at the same time. Not just one venture having a bad month, all of them simultaneously on fire. And not in the good way. This is the episode nobody wants to talk about because when you're a multi-hyphenate entrepreneur, there's this pressure to have it all figured out, to be crushing it across all ventures all the time. But that's not reality. Reality is messy, and sometimes reality is all your ventures failing at once while you're trying to hold it together and figure out what to do next. So if that's where you are right now, or if you've been there before, this one's for you. I want to tell you about a season of my life that almost broke me. I was operating solely in the business of fashion consulting. It was my primary venture, my second source of income, my professional identity. And I decided to implement a new venture to expand, to grow. And that's when everything started falling apart. Roadblock after roadblock, things that should have been simple became complicated. Things that should have worked out didn't. And then, while I'm trying to navigate those roadblocks in the new venture, a hiccup dealing with my fashion business happens. Something out of my control. Something I couldn't fix on my own. I was at the mercy of someone else assisting me out of the turmoil, waiting, unable to move forward. Watching the problem create a setback that diverted time and energy away from what actually needed to be done. And here's where it gets worse, the cascade effect. I wasn't making capital in one venture to invest into the other to start it. So progress was delayed. Because I only had one dedicated source of income, which was dedicated to living expenses, and the other income was sporadic. So I couldn't fund the new venture, which meant I couldn't diversify my income, which meant I was stuck depending on the fashion business that was currently in crisis. And then client work came to a halt. And I sat there thinking, maybe I'm not doing enough in my business. Maybe I'm not meant to be doing what I'm doing. Maybe this whole thing was a mistake. When you have multiple ventures, you have multiple points of failure. And sometimes they all fail at the same time. It's not because you're bad at business. It's not because you're not working hard enough. It's because you're exposed to more risk by nature of having multiple ventures. One venture struggling is hard. All of them struggling simultaneously, that's a mental health crisis waiting to happen. And what makes it even worse is you can't just focus all your attention on fixing one thing. When you're a single venture entrepreneur and your business struggles, you can pour all your energy into solving that one problem. You can pivot, you can troubleshoot, you can give it everything you've got. But when you're a multi-hyphenate, you're trying to triage multiple fires at once. Every fire is screaming for your attention, and you don't have enough mental bandwidth to give any of them what they actually need. The guilt is overwhelming. Because you start wondering, is this my fault? Did I spread myself too thin? Should I have just picked one thing and stuck with it? That guilt, that shame, it compounds the actual business problems you're facing. Now you're not just dealing with struggling ventures, you're dealing with the emotional weight of feeling like you failed at something you were supposed to be good at. This is the messy middle, and it's the place where most multi-hyphenate entrepreneurs quit. Not because they're not capable, but because their emotional toll becomes unbearable. So here's what I learned from that season. Here's what I wish someone had told me when all my ventures were on fire. Step 1, stop trying to save everything at once. This is the hardest part because every venture feels important. Every venture feels like it needs you right now. But when everything is on fire, you can't fight all the fires simultaneously. You'll burn out before you save anything. You have to triage. Ask yourself, which venture, if it fails completely, would have the most catastrophic impact on my life right now? Not which one you love most. Not which one has the most potential. Which one, if it disappeared tomorrow, would destroy your stability. For me, it was the fashion consulting business. That was the fire I had to focus on first. Everything else had to go into maintenance mode or pause completely. And that meant accepting that the new venture I was trying to launch, it was going to have to wait. Not forever, but for right now. And that's not giving up. That's strategic triage. Step 2, identify what's actually in your control. When I was in crisis mode, I was spending energy on things that were completely out of my hands. The setback in my fashion business, it required someone else to resolve it. I had no control over the timeline. I had no control over the outcome. And I was depleting mental energy worrying about it, trying to force it, trying to make it move faster. Here's what I should have done. Identify what's in my control and focus only on that. What could I control? I could control refining my service offerings. I could control how I was communicating my value. I could control whether I was taking care of my mental health during the crisis. What I couldn't control? Other people's timelines, market conditions, external roadblocks. Stop spending energy on what you can't control Redirect it to what you can. Step 3, sit with yourself and analyze why you did what you did. This is what saved me. When client work came to a halt and I was spiraling, thinking maybe I wasn't doing enough, maybe I wasn't meant to do this, I forced myself to sit down and really analyze. Why did I start this business in the first place? Why did I structure it in the way I did? What was working before things fell apart? What changed? And I realized I structured my business in a way that was making me hate something I loved. Fashion consulting started as a passion, something I loved to do. But the way I was monetizing it, the way I was delivering it, the pressure I was putting on it to fund everything else, it was killing my love for it. So I restructured. I changed how I decided to make money from it. I changed my service delivery. I changed my expectations. Not because the business model was wrong, but because the way I was running it was destroying my relationship with the work itself. And that shift, that's what allowed me to keep going. Here's the truth. Sometimes your ventures aren't failing because you're bad at them. They're failing because the way you're running them is unsustainable for who you actually are. So if you're in that place right now where all your ventures feel like they're on fire, here are 3 questions I want you to sit with. 1, if I could only save one venture right now, which one would it be? Not which one you love most. Which one is most critical to your survival and stability right now? That's your focus. Everything else goes into maintenance or pause. 2, what am I spending energy on that's completely outside of my control? Write it down. Look at the list and consciously redirect that energy to what you can control. You can't control market conditions. You can control how you respond to them. You can't control other people's timelines. You can control what you do while you wait. 3, is the way I'm running this venture killing my love for the work itself? Be honest. Are you structuring your business in a way that's sustainable for who you are? Or are you forcing yourself into a model that works for other people but not for you? Because sometimes the solution isn't working harder. It's restructuring how you work so you don't end up hating what you love. And here's what I need you to hear. Rock bottom is not a reflection of your worth or capability. It's information. It's telling you something needs to change. And that change might not be work harder. It might be work differently. Next week, we're shifting gears to talk about decision fatigue is stealing your creative energy. Because after you survive the fires, you still have to navigate the daily mental load of making hundreds of decisions across multiple ventures. But for now, if you're in the middle of the fire, if all your ventures are struggling and you're wondering if you're meant to do this at all, I need you to hear this. You are not failing. You are navigating complexity that most people will never understand. And the fact that you're still here, still trying, still showing up, that's not weakness, that's resilience. If you want to be a part of this podcast, submit a voice note or a message. Go to multimindpodcast.com and tell me, have you ever had a moment where all your ventures were struggling at once? What did that feel like? Keep it under 60 seconds. I'll feature your submission throughout the season if given permission. If this episode gave you a new way to think about energy management, subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode, leave a rating or review, and share this with a multi-hyphenate who's running on empty. If you want more in-depth business content to take you further in your multi-hyphenate journey, visit my YouTube channel, Artis Desjardins. I'll leave the link in the show notes. And if you want to work together one-on-one, head to artisdesjardins.com. Remember, your mental wellness doesn't have a side hustle. It's the main event. I'm Artis, and this is Multimind. I'll see you next week.